How's everybody doing? You can all hear me okay, right? Okay. I have a handout just for you, and some of this is going to be redundant. I'm sure this isn't going to be the first time you've heard stuff like this. So I'm basically going to go over, I'll let you know how I run my business. A lot of the choices I've made, a lot of people have disagreed with some choices I've made and why I feel like it's worked out for me, and I'll talk about my regrets, and then how to project forward what I should do from here and how it's going to help me in the future based on what I've learned from my failures. I really don't believe in failures. I believe in lessons. So if anybody's having, when you have those dark moments and you think you failed at something, just try to change the way you're thinking and turn it into a lesson and move forward. Okay, so I am the owner-operator of Paint and Pine Design. Started doing this about 20 years ago as a little side hustle. And I was working for the post office, making pretty good money. Everybody's talking about wonderful money and benefits, but I needed a creative outlet because, just stuffing garbage in a little hole every day was kind of soul crushing. So I decided to try to do what I've always loved doing. I love creating, I love making stuff for people, I love providing a service that you actually have a product that you can kind of reflect on and learn from. So I am a sole proprietor. I'm listed with the state of Utah as doing business as Paint and Pine Design. It's just me. I'm the only employee, so I'm kind of on the same level as a kid with a lemonade stand. My goal is to make money, but I really don't want the responsibility of other employees and a storefront, the brick and mortar storefront. All this comes with more time, more responsibilities. You have to really learn to how to compromise, basically. I love doing this, but if I start a larger business where I have employees, then I end up becoming a manager. And I really I'm not management material. I've never done well with that end of, obligations and responsibilities. So I started trying to create this wood shop in my garage. I've got a fairly large garage for the size of my house, so it worked out really well to have a wood shop, because I started adding up the cost of travel, commuting, time away from family, and my husband at the time. We basically laid it out on paper. How much are you spending on daycare and travel and gas and food? And we realized we might as well take a chance and just start a business at home. So he was commuting to Orem from Mount Pleasant. I had actually transferred to Mount Pleasant. We decided it was the right time for him to stay home, watch the kids, and work on a business. And that's kind of how it started. It was supposed to be temporary, but when you do what you love, it kind of becomes a lifestyle, So we were lucky because we had a few outlets. A lot of people say when you start a business, I would highly suggest you start with little side hustles, little sole proprietorships. Because if you just go all in, a lot of startups, they fail within the first year, couple years, And so to start small, start now, just start getting practice, gaining experience, learning how to network, how to ask for advice. And I'll touch on that later because I have taken some really bad advice. So hopefully you can learn from me, you don't have to, I'm trying to like a warning sign. Don't be like me. I've failed a lot of times, and then the worst failure I did though was blame shift people. No, you got to be responsible. Take responsibility. If you choose to take advice and it doesn't work out, that was your choice. You really need to realize that, especially going into business for yourself. You are completely responsible for all the decisions you make. Even just being here today, you have all chosen to take this course, to try out this path. It doesn't mean this is your destiny. You're not locked in, You're just testing the waters, So hopefully these talks and stuff can help you realize that there's nothing set in stone. And there never is. I'm going to be 45 years old this year. My kids, my two older kids are grown. I've got a 12-year-old at home. And I can still, with everything I've learned, I can take this sole proprietorship to the next level. I can decide I want to start a LLC. I can decide at any point in time, because as a sole proprietor, you have a lot of freedom. You have a lot of choices. Your commitments are to your clients. You know, they are basically your boss. And other than that, I've got a lot of free time. I've traded time for money. And that's kind of in this handout I've handed out today is, I didn't understand, I wish I had seen this, how to set goals and how to manage your time. I wish I'd seen this 20 years ago. I found out about all these like setting goals and writing stuff down and working from a calendar and being responsible for your time and your productivity. You know, I don't know how far I could have been. I know I would have been better off financially if I'd managed my time better, you know. And one of the things that hit home, I was just listening to a lot of audiobooks when I'm in the shop, but it's by Brian Tracy. I don't know if any of you know Brian Tracy, but he's like my guru. He's this personal development, but he talks all about goals. He really is very helpful. If you get on YouTube, if you want to take any notes, I really would suggest you go listen to talks by Brian Tracy. I just get so jazzed up when I hear his talks. It's really encouraging. One of his best quotes is, says, as your business grows and you become successful and you start to make money and become financially successful, people will try to sue you. And it made me laugh because I'm like, it's kind of true, you know, there's like, when you get more and more successful, the more challenges you're gonna have and the more obstacles you're gonna encounter, you know, so just prepare, prepare, prepare. Did you have a question? It's Brian with a B, Brian Tracy. And a lot of the stuff I listen to is older. I was gonna write down some books you should check out and look into, but seriously, once you start down these little rabbit holes, you'll start to get in an algorithm where they suggest this author and that author. And the laws of money never change. Like the rules that were relative, even 2,000 years ago, there's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. Has anyone heard of The Richest Man in Babylon, that book? Yeah, I love that book. It was written in, I think, 1930s, but it talks about a merchant from Babylonia like 2,000 years ago. But the laws of money it talks about in that book are so relative to the way laws of money operate today. So it talks about saving, reinvesting in yourself. You know, you can do a lot of self-education. The higher education is a huge investment for you guys. That's where one of my biggest regrets was not exploring more, you know, academic avenues and stuff. You know, I've done workshops. I've done a lot of, as far as entrepreneurial avenues go, I've done workshops. I've done just practicing when I've done craft shows even. You can just practice on clients and customers that come in. You can work on people skills as far as making eye contact, speaking clearly. I'm probably speaking really fast because I'm nervous, but you know, but speak clearly, stay on topic, you know. So all these skills that you can write down and figure out how you want to create a good relationship with clients, you know. But in order to know where you need to work on, you have to gain experience and you have to just go out and try new things. And when you fail, I used to have a really hard time making eye contact. And I feel like, you know, I'm not trying to sound boastful. I take a lot of pride in my work. The quality of my work and staying consistent with trends carried me. It compensated for my personality issues, you know, as far as being a I'm not really a salesperson. I love working alone in the shop. I'm really quite introverted, you know. So knowing that I need to work on these skills, I've done workshops where I've had to go and basically work one-on-one and set up like fake little shops, like how we interact with each other. And this might be something you want to do with your peers, like pretend you're even just selling some lemonade and tell them about the lemonade and how good it is, and then they can work on just how professional you were and how personable you were. A lot of times people will buy your product just because they like you. If you can get on an emotional connection, you know, we want to support our friends and family, and if you can create a personal connection with clients, they're going to be more likely to buy from you and then come back again. So that's something I really want to hit on, because that took me a long time. That was like 10 years into really learning, where am I failing? Where can I move on? You know, so, and a lot of this stuff I've passed on to my kids, so hopefully they're learning to, because in all walks of life, it's almost like you're selling yourself everywhere you go, you know, from relationships to family relationships to job interviews to owning your own business and putting it out there. When you go, you're promoting yourself. And a lot of people don't understand the difference between you and your product, you know. So make sure you're always working on yourself and trying to be more likable, because again, people like you, connect, they're gonna support you. So one of the pros, back to the subject, I segue, back to the subject of a sole proprietorship. The pros of a sole proprietorship: I do not have a boss. My time is very flexible. I can help my family out a lot, because I can take weeks off at a time if I want to. But the consequence of that, I don't have paid vacation. I am completely responsible for all my finances. I don't have vacation time. I don't have sick leave, you know, so I really have to live small. I really have to keep my finances under control. If I overcommit financially, I've overcommitted all my time. And then I have to start telling people no, and it's really hard for me to tell people no. So make sure when you're going in business for yourself, that is thing you really have to watch, is setting up boundaries, who you tell no, because one yes equals 1,000 no's. Once you've committed to one person, you're gonna you overcommit, it's gonna feel like people are just pulling you in every direction. It's very frustrating. But again, you were responsible for overcommitting. So learn from that and learn how to set up. I would really encourage you to look into how to set boundaries and politely and kindly tell people no. When you're dealing with clients and they want a deadline, I've overcommitted and said, yes, I can get that done. And then inevitably, commitment after commitment after commitment comes up, you know, and being a single mom is like, I need a ride here, I need a ride there, you know, and, are you available? It's really hard for me to say no to family. My parents live in town. It's been a real challenge. I'm not gonna complain. I'm gonna put a positive spin on it, but to have to really set boundaries with family has been such a challenge with me, because you really don't want to let the people down you love. You just don't want to let them down. But it puts a lot of stress on me. I've actually had to pull all-nighters to make a deadline, and it's exhausting. It's horrible on your health. It's just, you know. So if you commit to a deadline, and if you look at these goals, the time bound on the SMART goals, you really have to put that on a calendar, and you have to have it in front of you all the time. And this is relative, not just to professional goals, but this could be relationship or dietary or fitness goals. You can apply these skills to any walks of life. You got quizzes coming up at school, whatever, you know. You have to have that time bound in front of you all the time. I know you can put it on a calendar in your phone, and that's great to set reminders, but if you're used to doing that, back it up where it says, you know, you set long-term goals, so you've got a deadline in your phone, and then break that down into smaller goals. So set a timer on your phone where you've got on a calendar to always remind you that this is coming up, this is coming up, you know? Because for me, I'm kind of an airhead. If I don't write it down, the biggest lie I tell myself is, oh, I'll remember that. I'm always gonna remember that. I don't. It's in one ear, out the other. Till something's like, oh, you know, that's due. So make sure when you set these commitments, you write it down. And if something else comes up, you can either say no, because, okay, I am committed to staying on track to meet this goal, this commitment, this deadline, you know? If somebody wants to say, well, why don't you go to dinner with us? And I've not managed my time, and I put it off. I didn't get started till noon because I'm self-employed. I'm not gonna get written up if I don't start work at noon. I'm supposed to start at 7 a.m., but I don't get out there till noon. There's really no consequence for me, you know, whereas when I've worked a job, you get written up, you're fired, you know, but you don't hold to these schedules. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You're gonna have to eventually accommodate that schedule with time that you would rather be doing something else. Then you're telling everybody no, you're getting ornery, you're snapping at people you care about, you know? So it's a real challenge, and this is a big one for me, these goals. And so I'll go through this real quick, because it's, just to give you an example of how, most recently, like a most recent example, it's a short-term goal. I have a lady who needs 30 picture frames. And so, okay, when do you need them? Like I do the who, what, when, where. Okay, so who is it? I write her name down. What does she need? She needs 30 picture frames. We go over the specifics. When do you need this? Is that even doable? Like, can I meet this deadline? You know, because I know by now how long it takes me to make 30 picture frames, you know? Yes, it's a realistic goal because I can meet the schedule. I can meet it. And it's achievable, it's realistic. I've done this before. I have the tools. I have everything, you know, I have the experience, the tools, and everything it takes to meet this goal. Now, if I procrastinate, procrastination is like my biggest enemy because what eventually ends up happening is I don't meet the deadline, and then that, on me personally, I feel like I lack integrity. So integrity has been a huge goal that I have set for myself. Like, integrity is actionable. So, I mean, this helps me. I'm gonna write it down just to show you how I try to find balance with family, work, you know. So you've got, I've got little dorky notes here, so. Am I writing? I'm sorry, everybody, but you can see it. Can you see that okay? Okay. So integrity is action. Did you meet the timeline? Did you get it, you know? Whereas intention is me, yeah, I think I can meet that. You know, my intention was to be honest. And I honestly said, yeah, I can do that. That should be no problem. But when I miss the deadline, integrity comes down to action. And it's been a real thorn in my side that ultimately when you reflect on what you do, whether it's academic, relationship, weight loss, dietary goals, whatever your goals are, did you take the right actions to get to where, that's ultimately all it is making sure you're taking the right actions every day, between now and your deadline, to get to where you need to be, you know? So that, because I always thought things were just happening to me. I thought, oh, it's this person's fault because they interrupted my day, or it's that person's fault because this, you know, like I get pulled all over, and it's nobody's fault but my own, because I didn't know how to organize my time. So I know it's like beating a dead horse, and you're all like, okay, we get it, you know. But like at the bottom here, it says, you know, your time is money, you know, and you waste your time, you're wasting your money. And if you don't budget your time the way you would budget your money, it's gonna just feel like you're kind of just, you're floating. You have no direction. You're just, you know, you're kind of just bouncing around from circumstance to circumstance. And you gotta think of it like a boat that's bobbing around, and the boat is you. You've got to know yourself. You've got to learn your weaknesses and your strengths. You've got to learn how to navigate the waters, the circumstances that you're going to be going into when you go out and try new things and try to meet new people and network with new people. You know, you've got to know yourself so you can know how to navigate in the direction where you want to go to get to where you want to be, you know. When you break your goals down, you have to be able to look at every day, are you doing the right action? And that's where you got to create a system, you know. So for example, if it's a dietary goal, you don't just say, I want to lose weight. I don't even look at the scale. I don't look at anything. I'm just saying, I just make a list of all the junk I'm eating and immediately replace it with something so there's not a void, so you don't sabotage, you know. If I'm wasting time, I keep track of time. There's time tracker apps to help you to keep track. How much time did you spend on social media? That's just such a soul-sucking vacuum when you're trying to create your own business. It can be a really useful tool. Facebook and Instagram have gotten me a lot of business. It's raised awareness, but it's really hard to stay focused when you're on those social media. They've got these short videos. It's just like pop-ups and stuff everywhere. It's just so distracting. So one of the biggest tools that have helped me, because I am very, you would say right-brained, I'm very creative, I really space out, I think everything's cool. To get back in left brain, stay on track, work from a schedule, be, you know, all these actions instead of this dreamy intention. Work from a timer. And one of the biggest tools on my phone has been airplane mode. I set a block of time aside, and if I just turn the notifications off, if I'm listening to Bluetooth, I'll still get phone calls and dings. I don't know why it doesn't block that with Bluetooth. My phone's old and whatever, but when I set aside about a 2.5-hour block of time, airplane mode, all I have is stereo, and focus on my product, it's amazing how much work you can get done. Okay, so I would highly suggest working from timers. Get used to working from timers, even just a 20-minute timer to help you just study for a quiz, or go for, if you've got fitness goals, go for a jog for 20 minutes. You know, that's the action that's going to get you results. Talking about it, be careful when you just talk about your goals. Your brain thinks you're doing something, you're not doing anything. You have good intention, but you have to always work and stay focused on all your goals. So, again, I'll just to reiterate, with my business as a sole proprietor, there is a whole world of responsibility on my shoulders. And I've got all this freedom to create my own schedule and be my own boss. But that comes with a lot of responsibility that can be really overwhelming at times. So keep that in mind. It's also really hard if you're going to the bank to get a loan and you're just a sole proprietor. You don't have a job, you know, this was like my side hustle. I always had my job to fall back on. So make sure you know how to prepare and plan for that if you need help and stuff. So anyway, I could go on and on. There's so much I could tell you, but mainly you guys really look into setting goals and keep it on track. Manage your time. Learn to manage your time, and then take accountability for your decisions. And it'll get you really far, you know, you'll go really far if you just know how to manage your time. Ask for help, and write your goals down. Don't just do a goal not written down as a dream, it's a wish. So, and you're the one that's going to obtain that. So, how much more time we got? We got 10 minutes? Okay, that's cool. All right. Okay, so a lot of people look at my life and think I've undershot, I guess, you know, instead of overshoot. They look at my little house, my cars are paid for, I've only got a house payment, but I live with this tiny little life, but it allows me to do really big things, you know, because I have time. I've swapped time for money. And like, what's important to you, you know? So with enough planning, I can go do these big things. I've got, my sister lives in Houston, and I go down and visit and babysit. They have no family. I don't really have a lot of family. She has no family down there, so I will take 10 days and go babysit while her and her husband can go on a trip, you know? So I have that flexibility, and it works together where they compensate me for my time, but they do a lot for me. So that's called networking. You know, you figure out what you want, and the next step is to go out and network, you know? You find out the people who really have your best interest in mind. But be careful when you network. I know my grandma always liked to tell me, you know, what to do. She's thought I should just stay home, don't go to school, get married, have kids, and that's your life. But that's her era, and she had good intention. But if I'd done that, it would have been no. And do I have grandma to blame if I'd taken her advice, you know? No, I chose that, you know, because I didn't know what I really wanted, you know? So know what you want, figure out how to get what you want, figure out a circle, like a peer group circle, accountability partners. Align with people that have, you can work together and help each other out. But again, in the book, The Richest Man of Babylon, there was a section, and I'm going to paraphrase this horrible, but it says, never ask a shoemaker the value of your diamonds. And Not anything to bag on shoemakers. If you want to know about shoes, go to a shoemaker. If you want to know about jewels, go to a jeweler, you know. If you want to learn how to start up your business, there's a lot of videos on YouTube. And you can even just Sole Proprietorship Utah and videos will pop up. That's self-education. And take their advice. Don't take grandpa's advice about starting up a business because things change. You want to stay current, you know. And make sure, this is a big one too. I'm just going to kind of wrap it up here. I would really use discretion when I am talking about future plans and your goals. And it's not like people are evil and want to sabotage you. A lot of people that really discouraged me were people close to me and it hurt. I realize now their intention was to keep me from hurting. They thought I was going to fail. You know, I'm glad I didn't listen to a lot of them because even if I did fail, instead of saying they were right, no, that was a learning experience, you know. You gotta know, why did this fail? I've done a craft show. I did Swiss Days, and in 2 days, I sold $16,000 worth of product. I didn't make that. It took months to make that, to earn that, but we were so busy I was dying. It was like a madhouse. So in 2 days, $16,000. I've done other craft shows where I could have taken a nap on the lawn. There was nobody. So the difference was the crowd, the product, the time of year. You know, it wasn't a failure, it was a learning experience, you know. But so just know, write down your successes, always reflect on your successes, but make sure you write down. And, you know, I hate to use the word failure. There really are no failures. It's just lessons. Like, I wish I could have done better. Even today, I've never spoken like this ever. I hope it's not horrible, but I'm like, hey, I have nowhere to go but up because I've never done anything like this. But I really hope there's some advice here that if I had known about just setting goals and timekeeping and learning boundaries, it would have been so easier. I'm not saying I would have been a millionaire. You know, I don't know if I'd have a huge business and, you know, rival crumble cookies or something, but I don't know. But I know I would have had a lot less stress in my life, you know. And when you're stressed, you fill up with stress and you project it out. And then it's a nightmare. It just creates a lot of guilt and stuff. And I'm like, okay, just don't. You know, so manage your time, manage your boundaries, make your intentions clear, but also keep track of your actions, you know, because it's like, it's going to come down to action and intention. You know, I wanted to make a lot of money. Well, why? Because I want to spend time with my kids on a nice vacation. Okay, did I earn that time off? Did I have a savings? Did I make a plan? Did I plan far enough down the road that, you know, in the event of, you know, something happened getting canceled, is it catastrophic or are you going to be okay if things happen, you know? So, and again, apply this to every walk of life, but for sure, I don't know. I'm old school. I'm doing handouts. I don't have computers going on, but this has been my biggest friend. Again, biggest lie I ever tell myself is I will remember that. I've been in the shop working, not from a timer. I didn't set an alarm because I'm like, I'll remember to pick my kid up from school. Who forgets their kid, right? I forgot my kid one time 2 years ago. He's never let me live it down. So I'm like, okay, never again. So I always have my alarm set for 2:25, so I get him at 3, or whatever, 2:30. I don't even remember what time I pick him up from school. That's how scatterbrained I am. But write it down, and I would keep it to 3 things. If you're studying for a quiz, write down 3 topics in the next 20 minutes you have to review, and go over that. When you're done and you got time, write down just 3 more things, you know, whatever that is for you that looks like that you would consider a successful day, a successful study session, you know. But write it down. And something about me just put in my phone does not stick as well as when I put pen to paper. It just works so much better for me. So if you have deadlines, have it in front of you all the time, constant reminders. So anyway, how's our time doing? Do we take any?
We've got some time for questions.
Okay. Okay. So does anybody have any questions? Yeah. Oh, social media and stuff? I've done, I used to do supply to stores, and my ex-mother-in-law had a store, so I would have her customers sign up on an email list, and we'd do a mailing with a coupon. I saw a huge return when people voluntarily give you information. Usually when you do a mailing, you get maybe a 10% return if you do a coupon. On this mailing, I'd get an 80% return. People really, but they voluntarily gave you the information. I'm not a fan of mass marketing, mass mailing. It's junk mail. That's what I made a living on, paying my bills, is delivering garbage. It's just junk mail. So you really have to know your customer. Ask them, what do you want? Ask them permission. Do you want to receive information? You'll get a really good return. I've never had to do promotions. I've never had to put anything on sale. I usually sell out because it's just me. I don't, so I'm like, when it's gone, it's gone. And that almost creates a fear of missing out. People will actually buy more if I say, this is it, So, and it can be manipulative, but my intention is not to manipulate. It's really like, I'm tired. I'm not going to bust my butt anymore. I'm done. So, but I've handed out thousands of business cards, and I don't get a big return on business cards. That gets lost with the junk, You can keep track of important clients. I don't know, has anyone ever heard of I think it's the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule? Okay, so 20% of my clients pay, that's where 80% of my income comes from, is 20% of my clients. You want to take care of those clients. You really want to make sure that they're the ones you're going to go back to if you're lacking funds. At any time, because I was supplying wholesale, I was doing craft shows, I've made and kept good connections. At any time when I get financially strapped, I can contact any of these people from my past and say, hey, if I make this many shelves or picture frames for you, would you want them? And I know they would say yes. They've always said yes because of that integrity, meet your deadlines and quality product, So but does anybody else have anything they want to ask or share or? No? Hey. Okay, so that's been a real problem for me because especially woodworking is hard. There's a formula that says take your cost and times 6, which is hard because for a little 36-inch shelf, it takes about the same amount of time as a 6-foot shelf because it's all the same actions put it together. So I've had to, so a 36-inch shelf would be $80, but by that formula, a 6-foot shelf would end up being like $300, and the customer's like, what? So that doesn't really work for me. What works best is keeping a rough estimate of material, cost of material, and then keep track of my time and make sure I am making a decent hourly rate. That's why I quit doing wholesale after I'd add up my time because I'm a perfectionist. Now I make a quality product, but my perfectionism, I shoot myself in the foot. My hours just drain. I end up making less than you'd make at McDonald's sometimes because I don't know when to quit, So, but the best thing is to just give an honest effort, keep track of your time, and pay yourself a fair hourly rate, and include the cost of material. So that's one way. It's hard though, but always keep checking in with yourself. The price of materials, the lumber market went crazy. It's really hard to price things. And when you've bought stuff at this price, you've got to adjust your prices as the market changes. So I bought this for a bundle of lumber for $1,000. Now it's $2,000. You need to up your prices immediately, or you're gonna go bankrupt. So, okay. Anybody else have any questions or anything to share? All right. Okay. Yeah, you bet. I hope it's helpful. I really just, just watch this timekeeping, write it down. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the time. I appreciate your patience. So anyway, you bet. Thank you.